We've seen Gio kind of rely on that Urshifu and even terrestrialize it at some points to get some massive damage out with that Wicked Blow.
And then the other big Pokemon, obviously, of course, all 6 Pokemon are very valuable for Gio in this matchup. But specifically, I'm really focusing in on this Booster Energy Flutter Mane with access to Icy Wind. It's going to be the fastest thing out there, fastest non-prankster Pokemon out there, I should say. And if those Icy Winds are going to lower the opponent's speed, is that for, say, the Urshifu to help it out? Or is that really for maybe the Choice Specs Golden Go so that you can get a Make It Rain off before it gets hit?
Why not both, Joe? I think it could be either.
Okay, no, those.
I mean, just looking at the team, those are the 2 biggest damage dealers, I would think, especially that Choice Specs Terra Steel Golden Go. If you're able to get some Icy Winds going, lower the speed of the opposing Pokemon, that gives you the option to go for some huge damage with those Make It Rains, and that's something that Gio has certainly been doing all day today.
Yeah, and with the Flutter Mane, Frigoraph, and Rillaboom, the Assault Vest on Raghav's, the Assault Vest on Rillaboom is going to be very important against those special attackers, because who knows how much Raghav has calced against Life Orb Frigoraph.
Yeah, that's going to be really important. The Terra Poison on Rillaboom isn't something we see too often, and I think in this case, probably not something Raghav will want to opt for, because you do have to worry about the Frigoraph. You're going to turn that Psyshock into super effective damage, which is certainly something you have to worry about, even though you are holding that Assault Vest. I think notably the Rillaboom is using U-turn and not something like high horsepower, so if the Rillaboom is stuck on the field against Gio's Golden Go, that could be an issue, especially because there's no way to terrestrialize into a steel resistance. You're going to be taking the full powered Make It Rains, and just looking at all of Raghav's team, the only things that have the option to resist that Make It Rain would be the Ogerpon and the Kingambit if it does not terrestrialize.
Ogerpon Wellspring Mask, of course, is going to be important on this matchup for both of these trainers as they have access to it. You mentioned the Water Absorb ability, being able to just straight up eat any water attacks that are hit in that slot. So these IV Cudgels are definitely not very safe to click sometimes if the other side has Ogerpon.
Especially because it's a Wellspring Mirror, right? So you have to worry about, if I have my Ogerpon out, I can't really go for IV Cudgel, especially if the Ogerpon is on the other side of the field already. But even you have to worry about it like swapping into an IV Cudgel and just healing instead of taking any damage. So if both of these trainers opt to bring their Ogerpon to these battles, it's something they just have to keep in mind.
Yeah, this is going to be such an exciting matchup as our trainers are getting ready there in the team preview going over their squads. You have the Dark-type Urshifu Single Strike versus Dark-type Kingambit. A special attack Flutter Mane versus special attack Landorus Incarnate. They're filling out similar roles but using different Pokemon for them.
They truly are, and it's going to be really cool to see how it works out. I think a big key here is going to be this Golden Go. If Gio can position the Golden Go in such a way that it's not having to worry about taking like a big Kowtow Cleave from Kingambit, it's not going to have to be taking something like an Earth Power from this Landorus. It's going to be a big deal for Gio because these Make It Rains are going to be hurting a lot. Clefairy can help out with the Friend Guard, but if it takes one Make It Rain itself, it probably just gets one hit KO'd, unfortunately.
Yeah, you can see so much deliberation going on screen because start of game 1, you want to have the momentum on your side. Of course, this is the final best of 3 of the weekend, so it's not just winning the game, it's also winning turn 0 sometimes, having the best lead.
It is, especially one thing to note about these teams too is that this Icy Wind Flutter Mane that we've been talking about appears to be the only kind of speed control in the game for either player. Gio has Trick Room as well, so Raghav just doesn't have speed control.
The no Tornadus way.
Right, exactly.
It, yes.
Yeah, there's no Tailwind. There's no Tornadus getting these priority Tailwinds, even some Icy Winds off. And that's going to be something that, we've seen a lot throughout Regulation E, but has not made as big a splash here in San Antonio at the very end of the format.
Yeah, isn't that fitting that we spend the last couple of months with Tornadus or Shifu Rapid Strike dominating the format, and we will finish it with neither of them winning the regional here in San Antonio. So this should be exciting. Everybody get excited watching along at home and watching here in the venue between GIOVANNI Costa and Raghav Malaviyya. On the top of your screen will be Landorus Incarnate and Clefairy for Raghav versus the bottom of your screen with a Golden Go Flutter Mane combo. Double Ghost for Gio.
Double Ghost and double big special attacking threat here. I think as long as the Golden Go on Gio's side is trained such that it's going to outspeed a -1 speed Landorus, this is kind of really bad for Raghav. The Landorus here kind of has to swap out. Clefairy can't really take a Make It Rain. Kingambit here is probably going to come in, try and catch an Icy Wind with a Defiant attack boost, but it will also have to take a big Make It Rain for its troubles.
Yeah, we talked about how important turn 0 is, and it looks like Gio has won that. So what will happen here on turn 1? Raghav Raghav has to make the adjustment, bringing King Gambit into that Landorus slot. And Giovanni will terastallize his King Gambit into a steel type to get even more damage from choice specs. Make it rain. The Icy Wind is going to be the locked in though, so Gio looking to actually miss this would actually been
nice,
better
right?
for him. Instead, King Gambit will swap in on the Icy Wind speed drop and gain 2 stages of attack increase.
Great swap for Raghav, both for the Icy Wind Defiant boost and also because the King Gambit is one of few things that will resist this Make It Rain. However, a choice specs Terra Steel Make It Rain should still do a good chunk to King Gambit, but the friend guard absolutely massive from the Clefairy there because this King Gambit came in on a choice specs Terra Steel massively high base power move in the form of Make It Rain and is still well over half HP, and this King Gambit now is at +2 attack. Sucker Punch probably KOs this Golden Ghost, certainly KOs the Flutter Mane. It's going to be a very scary King Gambit to deal with if you're a Geo here, especially because this Flutter Mane cannot terastallize into the Pure Fairy type to take resisted damage. It does not have Dazzling Gleam to damage this King Gambit through Follow Me. Its only spread move is Icy Wind, and one more Icy Wind right now would be pretty bad.
Yeah, well, the Follow Me is going to stop any Moon Blast that would be going towards the King Gambit slot. Instead, they're going to hit into Clefairy, which is almost half of its HP. Can this -1 special attack make it rain be enough to take out the Clefairy?
That's still a lot.
It's the Clefairy, definitely, but not enough for the King Gambit. There's the critical hit.
A little bit of an unfortunate critical hit there, but King Gambit will still stick around, be able to KO either of these 2 Pokemon on Geo's side of the field here with a Kowtow Cleave. It's going to be this Golden Go, which will get knocked out. It takes, you know, the Clefairy and most of the King Gambit down with it, so not too bad if you're Geo there. A pretty good trade of that Golden Go now, but this King Gambit still is at +2 attack. Thankfully, from that critical hit, it does look like it is in range for something like a Sucker Punch from this Urshifu, which would even protect the Flutter Mane from taking a Sucker Punch on the way too.
There is the Rillaboom though, so Raghav has revealed all 4 of their Pokemon in Game 1. Landorus Incarnate is sitting in the back, waiting for the moment to switch back in. Urshifu Single Strike does have the Focus Sash, so Geo at least knows it has to take more than 1 hit to KO it.
And the nice thing about this Urshifu as well is that it is going to really just bounce that Sucker Punch right off. Like, you have the option to maybe try and Sucker Punch the King Gambit yourself and attack before it can move, but even if you do opt to just go for like a Wicked Blow, it's really not going to do any damage to the Urshifu itself. Rillaboom and King Gambit both attack into protect from Urshifu and Flutter Mane this turn. Makes sense just to burn the Fake Out. The recovery from King Gambit there, probably not a huge deal if you are Geo because it's still in range for something like a Wicked Blow.
Yeah, the Wicked Blow and the Urshifu's, basically any of its dark attacks are just going to be really strong, even in a resisted scenario. But that full health Rillaboom with an Assault Vest is definitely feeling nice against the Flutter Mane.
Flutter Mane is going to swap out here, not wanting to take either a Sucker Punch or a Grassy Glide to be KO'd. Ogerpon comes onto the field next to this Urshifu instead.
All right, so that is the Sucker Punch. It doesn't go towards Flutter Mane. Instead, it's into Urshifu to break the Focus Sash. That's a critical hit as well, so it's a lot of damage. Close combat on a low HP King Gambit. It secures the knockout, but at the cost of lowering both of Urshifu's defenses by 1 stage. So now Rillaboom, if it targets into that slot, will have a super strong Wood Hammer and -1 defense. No, it's into Ogerpon. Instead, still a 1-hit KO on the switch in.
What a great turn for Raghav there. You get a big chunk of damage on the Urshifu, you break its Focus Sash and bring it down lower. The Urshifu is now locked on the field at -1 defense and special defense, and Rillaboom takes a huge KO on the Ogerpon coming in. That means that the Ogerpon is no longer there to redirect any attacks away from either the Flutter Mane or the Urshifu, and this Landorus on Raghav's side of the field now has the option to threaten some big damage with Earth Powers and Sandseer Storms. Still, however, does have to worry about this Icy Wind from Flutter Mane.
I was going to say, the Icy Wind, both of Raghav's Pokemon are currently weak to the Ice attack. Sure, it's a weak attack, but any super effective damage will be valuable. As we saw, though, Giovanni did lock in the double protect on this turn, so just wanting to play it safe against both of Raghav's Pokemon.
You have to wonder if Geo is trying to make sure that Urshifu can survive something like a Grassy Glide. You know, the -1 defense from the close combat does leave it slightly more vulnerable to attacks from either of these Pokemon, and by protecting, you get a little bit more grassy terrain recovery, put yourself in a better spot for this coming turn. However, I don't see a way that Geo has to KO both of Raghav's Pokemon at once. So it looks like there's probably going to be a knockout taken by Raghav on this turn, especially because Geo did just protect both. If he wants to try and protect another one, I believe we saw 2 attacks go into that Urshifu there. He can possibly try to go for a double protect there, but it's only a 30% chance. Even if you do, I don't think Flutter Mane can take a KO on its own down here. So a rough spot for Gio, despite the big damage with the King Gambit knockout a couple turns ago.
Yeah, there's a lot of factors. Obviously, one, Icy Wind can miss, and it's a low special attack move there. Base power, I should say. Icy Wind does double connect onto both of Raghav's Pokemon, though.
KOs!
Completely taken out. The critical hit on the Rillaboom.
The double crit!
The double crit!
What?
Lando's down!
No way!
That is not low base power anymore when you get a double crit Icy Wind.
Oh, that is insane.
And
that's
here
exactly
is the
what you needed.
At half HP on the Rillaboom. There's the critical hit we all expected, since that always critically strikes.
Oh my
and
goodness.
Giovanni Costa absolutely bringing that back from the clutches of defeat to have a victory game one.
What was that? Oh my gosh. I think the critical hit on Rillaboom is neither here nor there, but I think the Flutter Mane definitely needed that critical hit on the Landorus for the KO with that Icy Wind, despite it being double super effective, not the highest base move in terms of base power. And if the Landorus had the chance to attack there, a Sandsear Storm, if it connected, would have KO'd both targets, or an Earth Power would have KO'd either one, and then you have the Grassy Glide to finish off the game from there. So a really, really big critical hit there from that Flutter Mane. The Urshifu kind of giving its critical hit energy over to the Flutter Mane for that turn, and putting Gio up 1-0 in this finals match. That is the most insane thing I've ever seen, Joe.
So now how do you play this game too? Because do you just press your luck, since you kind of, as we look at the replay, you started, it didn't really start that great. Give an Icy Wind Defiant boost over to King Gambit. Your Make It Rains were resisted as well, but you came out victorious even though it didn't start in your best benefit. So you kind of play risky, or what do you try to close it out in 2 games? Do you not even think about going for a risk, because you have maneuverability? If you lose, there's at least a game 3 in your spot.
Even though the King Gambit came in and got that Icy Wind, Defiant attack boost, I really think the start of that game was kind of fine for Gio. You got a lot of damage out with your Golden Go, you KO'd the Clefairy, you got King Gambit very low, and then once the King Gambit was, that low, in range for something like the Close Combat or the Wicked Blow, it seemed like, maybe it could have been something you could have closed out from there. Gio was not
expecting though, neither was Raghav.
I know, and I mean, this critical hit here sealing it for Gio there. That I think that is something that neither player expected, especially because the Flutter Mane isn't even special attack boosting, it's the speed booster set. But I think if you're either player,
type either.
Exactly.
Like, maybe if Iron Bundle got it, you kind of understand it, right? But Flutter Mane does not. So yeah, Raghav definitely having to make an adjustment. Maybe get more value out of your Defiant King Gambit than just a couple of attacks while you have the boost.
Well, that's true. I guess it took one of the Make It Rains it took was a critical hit, which did kind of limit its longevity on the field here. We're just going to see a lead run back though. I think that's totally fine from both players. If you're Gio on this going into this game 2, the Icy Wind Make It Rain on turn 1 is a massive damage threat, and even though the King Gambit can pretty easily swap in again if that's how Raghav wants to play it, you're not too upset with how the first couple turns played out. I truly think even though the King Gambit did get the Defiant boost, no switches actually.
He didn't switch. King Gambit's watching from the sidelines right now. Landorus will terrestrialize instead into the Poison type to resist this Dazzling Gleam, but you don't resist Make It Rain.
You don't. I don't know if it's going to be enough. You're going to get some chip damage with the Icy Wind, and especially because this Golden Go is now terrestrializing, if this Landorus doesn't protect on Raghav's side, it will be taking a full power Icy Wind to Make It Rain from this Golden Go. Not even, double protecting to try and bait like a -1 special attack to Make It Rain. It's all just happening immediately. Clefairy protects, the Landorus does not.
Yeah, Clefairy is going to keep itself safe, but really all eyes are on Landorus Incarnate right now. Icy Wind not fully accurate, however, it does land onto Landorus at this point, taking considerably less damage when you are not crit and not 4 times weak to the ice attack. But here is a choice specs Terra Steel Make It Rain into Landorus. What can Raghav do? Can they endure this?
That's enough!
No! Lando is down!
Lando goes down in 1 hit. Raghav loses their Terra immediately without even attacking once. What a huge start to this game for Gio. That is a massive turn of events here. Now, even if the King Gambit comes in to take on this Golden Go, you don't even need Icy Wind anymore. You have no reason to try and activate that Defiant. And more importantly, if the Urshifu is in the back, Urshifu will cleanly handle this King Gambit.
Right, the Landorus was really the only Pokemon you wanted to Icy Wind so that Wicked Blow would outspeed, or Urshifu would outspeed.
Exactly.
Now you don't need it. Clefairy is going to be a sitting duck if it stays in against the Make It Rain, so Raghav has to switch it out. King Gambit didn't even come to this game 3. Instead, it's the Assault Vest Rillaboom, who's not you know, it's two special attackers on the other side. Still going to be a lot of damage. There's the first hit from the Moonblast. Ivy Cudgel from Raghav, hoping for a critical hit in response, but no, does not get it. So now here is a -1 Make It Rain onto both of Raghav's Pokemon.
So much damage.
Just barely hangs on.
And you have to think, now that we know that King Gambit didn't come to this game, if Fluttermane wants to AC win, the only thing that's going to be slower or faster than this Golden Go naturally is the Ogerpon. It does not have access to any kind of priority moves. So maybe if you want to swap this Golden Go out, save it for later, and then maybe Icy win this Ogerpon for the Golden Go to come back in, then you just kind of use Make It Rain a couple more times, and the damage is right there for you.
Farigiraf will swap into the Golden Go slot, as it did use to Make It Rain, so of course its special attack was dropped 2 different times. You want to reset that special attack for later in the game. Raghav will swap Clefairy back into the Rillaboom slot. Icy Wind connecting onto both of these Pokemon. Crucially, only really mattering that the Ogerpon's speed has been dropped by 1 stage. Horn Leech is a lot with the critical hit. You don't even need Ivy Cudgel to crit because Horn Leech got it.
Horn Leech gets the KO there, the grassy terrain helping out a lot, and that is nice to re-heal some of that damage it took from the Icy Wind and from the Make It Rain. However, it is now at -1 speed, so if Golden Go comes in, it will be outspeeding this Ogerpon. Rillaboom cannot switch in to Make It Rain. It will get knocked out. Clefairy can't take a Make It Rain either, as it also will get knocked out. And remember that there is no option for Raghav to Terrastalize either of their Pokemon remaining, because the Landorus did take that Terra before going down. So Golden Go now in a very strong offensive position. Ogerpon still does resist, but the Farigiraf with the Life Orb, Psyshock, and Hyper Voice is able to follow up with some great damage next to it.
It's not like Raghav has Wide Guard that can stop the spread attacks, potential Make It Rain, and the Hyper Voice coming into Raghav's direction. The Clefairy will protect just to keep the Friend Guard active on the field, reducing the damage this Ogerpon takes. That is an ineffective attack, but what does Giovanni's Farigiraf go for? This Ivy Cudgel is finally going to connect into Golden Go, but it's not enough. Gio hangs on at 8 HP, and here's a Life Orb Psyshock, bringing Ogerpon down into the red.
It's going to be so close for this Make It Rain to possibly KO. Again, no priority moves on Ogerpon, so it will have to take 1 more Make It Rain, as well as the Clefairy sitting on the field. If Clefairy wants to swap out and maybe protect itself from this Make It Rain, that means you lose the Friend Guard, so Ogerpon probably goes down. And you still have to worry about Farigiraf as well. The Life Orb Psyshock there doing a big chunk to Ogerpon. Giovanni is pinning Raghav very hard with this really strong offensive threat in the form of Golden Go.
This is such a difficult spot because Raghav, sure, you have some recovery while grassy terrain is on the field, but the question is how much can you recover, especially since Rillaboom has already taken so much damage.
It has. Like, Rillaboom is, I believe, just barely hanging on. So any kind of Hyper Voice or Psyshock or even like a -2 or 3 Make It Rain will be enough for the KO here. And Raghav has some very difficult choices to make. Clefairy swaps out. Friend Guard no longer on the field. Will this be enough for Ogerpon to hang on?
Yeah, Rillaboom switches into that position. Could also be a scenario for Spiky Shield. Does that make sense? Raghav kind of sacrificing the Rillaboom to the altar of Make It Rain so you can get Clefairy back onto the field on the next turn. But here is the Terra Steel Make It Rain, the 4th Make It Rain Gio's been able to click in this game and gets another knockout.
And Rillaboom goes down here, so now Clefairy has to come back in. And what that importantly means is Raghav can no longer swap out the Ogerpon, reset the speed drop, and attack before this Golden Go. Golden Go will remain faster than Ogerpon for the remainder of this game, rather. Now it is, I believe, at -4 special attack now, but luckily Gio still has a 4th Pokemon. Gio can very easily swap out Golden Go, bring it back in later on, knowing that it will still outspeed this Ogerpon, reset those special attack drops, and even has a chance to kind of finish this game with Farigiraf itself. Like, yeah, you can't Psyshock the Ogerpon because Clefairy probably goes for Follow Me, but Farigiraf has a Hyper Voice of its own, which even through the Friend Guard with the Life Orb might just be enough for the KO.
Yeah, Clefairy is able to redirect to Psyshock. So we saw Gio's kind of hovering Psyshock versus Hyper Voice, deliberating between those 2 options on only one way to stop it with the Follow Me. It would be the Psyshock. Hyper Voice would work onto either slot. Here is a -2 Make It Rain from the Golden Go into the Ogerpon. Does not get a KO onto either of Raghav's Pokemon. What can Ogerpon Wellspring do in this spot to bring him back into the game? The Horn Leech, at least, even though ineffective, still gets the KO onto Golden Go, but now Farigiraf gets to attack against 2 low HP Pokemon on Raghav's end. Golden Go goes down, but it has done more than enough in this matchup.
There's the
Hyper Voice.
There it is!
that's gonna do it. And
Costa!
Dragonite proudly watching from the sideline as Giovanni Costa wins his first regional championship at the San Antonio Regional Championship.
What an incredible match for Gio there. He played that match so incredibly well, especially that second game. He had so much offensive output with that Golden Go, with the flutter main. Oh, look at all his friends celebrating with him. That's so cool. I love this so much. Gio's such a great guy and deserves this more than anyone else I can think of. So it's not at all a shock to see so many people rallying around him after such a great performance here in San Antonio.